press release, retracted it, and asked the state party chair for other nominees. Where's the card?
When is the Ottawa County GOP going?
Yeah.
When's
You can see it.
That I do not.
Yeah, I
But I
won't be
can
able to
find
see
out.
him, but we'll see that.
Yeah.
Okay. Politics next year?
Are you gonna start there? Unmute, telephone.
The host would like to join you.
Bob is
You
on.
are unmuted.
Unmute now.
Welcome everybody to the regular town hall meeting, October 13th, 4 o'clock, which is exactly that. All is present. We'll start with the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Do I have
Second.
a Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, public comments. We have the public comments on record. Okay. Need a motion to consent agenda.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. New business, utility 10-year summary. McGill engineering.
Mayor, I'd like to introduce Mr. Dale Shepherd. He's going to come up and present this report on our water and sewer utility financial model for the next 10 years. I would note that we were planning to give this to you in June, but because of the COVID, we weren't able to meet. We were doing remote meetings, as you might remember, and it was very difficult. I believe you needed to be here to present it and answer any questions you had. So the date has been updated. We just spoke last week. So Dale, come on up. You're on.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor and council members, my name is Dale Sheepers. I'm with McGill Associates. They call me a senior consultant, I think because my hair is all gray and such. But no, really and truly, my background is public works, public utilities. I spent 30 years in local government. 24 of those years were either public works director or utility manager of that sort. Retired at age 55. I kind of grabbed my pension and ran. And my experience and my knowledge and those sorts of things, I believe, makes me valuable to communities and to other public works and utilities to have that understanding and that experience to help others measure and manage their utilities. My mantra is what gets measured gets managed. If you can't measure it, you have no earthly idea as to how you can manage it, or if you're even managing it to any semblance of order or rationality, or let alone an industry standard. So what you see in front of you, the handout, is a whole bunch of numbers. I do the number stuff, okay? And for some that isn't really exciting, but to me it is, because it shows you definitively what the dynamics are in your system. The dollars that you take in, the effect that has on your customers, the effect that has on the amount of consumption, the revenue that you need to run your utility, and most importantly, those capital needs, those things to make sure that you have capacity for both your present customers and future customers. Okay, so if you don't have capacity, you don't have a utility, basically. We're in this country, it's 24/7 uninterruptible. In other countries, you might have water, you might not. You might have electricity, you might not. That's not how we run it here, and our standard is much higher than that. Okay, so the methodology is the American Water Works Association M1 manual. That is the standard, the industry standard by which we we employ the methodology to make these calculations. So it's not just me, and it's not just me and my friends. It is the industry standard, American Waterworks Association, industry standard, worldwide standard that's being applied on how we make these measurements and we give these results. Okay? So that's where I'm coming from, and these are the outputs that you have in front of you. Okay? So the approach is a revenue requirements analysis. That's what we're going to do. And what that means is that we determine by forecasting future needs and knowing what the current needs are, we can understand and be able to project all of the revenue that we need to run this utility for the planning period, which is 10 years. Okay, so to keep this thing running viably, so you don't run out of money, you don't run out of water, you don't run out of sewer capacity for the next 10 years, these are the revenues that we need to collect in order to make that work. Okay, so the top part of the first slide goes through the very top section are those expenses that we need to make this thing run. Okay, you've got your day-to-day operations, that's your operating expenses. You have to pay your existing debt. You've got some loans on some things that you have in place now. Okay, then you're going to fund some things with cash, which is that first line, the cash financed capital improvements. Okay, and then we're going to have some projected debt service, the way that we're going to finance things in the future. We've got some industry standard type approaches to figuring out those costs as we move forward. So we figure out what it's going to cost us in the next 10 years, and then we have to figure out what we have to do to rates to be able to collect enough money to make it run. Okay? So the first set of data is the system that you have without the Watauga River intake. Okay, so this is the pipes that we need to fix that are leaking, the treatment plant equipment maybe that needs to be replaced. It's the replacement of water mains and sewer mains. It's maintaining your water plant, the storage tanks, the pumps, all those sorts of things. Okay, so plus the operating costs as well. And we have certain assumptions that we make as we set the model up. Okay, we don't know exactly what's in the future, but we can make some pretty good assumptions. Okay, back in December or so when we made the assumptions for the system, we were looking at about a 1.25% system growth, new customers. We can get more revenue with new customers, how many is that going to be? And we made other projections and other assumptions with the cost of labor, the cost of utilities, the cost of contracted services, and chemicals and those sorts of things that we need to have to run our utility. So we put those assumptions together, we forecast those things forward, and then the most important part, I think, of the analysis is the capital investment that we need to make. Okay, that is the most money that you're going to spend, and it's the part of the equation that you have the most control over. Okay, some can say, and I've seen this approach a lot, is, well, let's do nothing until it breaks, and then we'll fix it. Right? That's a great way to do it, because then we know when to fix it because it's broke. Well, when you look at the life cycle cost of that approach, it's probably about anywhere between 2 and 4 times the cost if you take sort of a break and fix approach. Okay, if you do preventative and predictive sort of maintenance, let's get these things replaced before they run to failure, where it's that 4 to 5 times the cost, and replace those in a more orderly manner when there is some useful life left to it, but not very much, and do it at the right time, as opposed to in a reactive sort of a mode. You could be much more effective in how you manage those dollars and how you make those investments and what it's going to cost you in the long run.
Dale?
Okay, so go ahead.
Speaking of CIP, did you suggest a dollar amount, or was there a formula for this, or was this, when you look at the graph and the CIP, was this dollar amount suggested by you and your firm, or was it calculated by numbers provided to provided to you guys?
Both. It was both well, the most recent one, I've done this 4 years in a row. So the most recent is the capital improvement plan that was updated by your staff, by Daniel, that I plugged in. Okay, and those were derived from previous numbers that were put together. Actually, the very first one that I put together with Robert Heaton is where a lot of those numbers came from. So he was very instrumental in the first one that we've then, indexed up over the past 4 years for the cost of construction going up. So that's where the numbers come from.
And with your experience in the public utilities field, are you comfortable with that number?
Sure.
For the CIP?
Yeah, those are good, reasonable numbers, yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
So your capital investment and how you manage that, in my opinion, is one of the more critical components of this whole effort, okay? So without the Watauga River intake, these are the investments that need to be made over the next 10 years to keep things running as they are, in good repair, and avoid, to the best of your ability, catastrophic failures and, the reactive sort of costs that go along with those. Okay? So you'll see the next little skinny box there, that's the percent increase. That is the additional revenue that you need year over year to support those expenditures that we have forecast out there for the next 10 years. 10% in the first year, then it kind of levels out around 6%, and then it gradually goes down, 5%, 4%, 3.5% or so out into those latter years. Okay, so one of the reasons that we go out 10 years, the state requires a 5-year capital improvements plan, and the reason that we go out 10 years is to make sure that when we get to the end of 5 years, you're not in a steep climb that you don't realize that it's going to get away from you, or you're not in a nosedive where, year 6 and 10 help you to understand that in year 5, you're on an even slope in your projection and not some bubble that you're falling off of or getting onto out there at the end of 5 years. So that's why we're projected out to 10. Sometimes we do 20, but once you get past, 10 years, it gets pretty fuzzy when you're trying to figure out what you need. Okay? So then the third box, outcome and effect on customer bills. Minimum residential bill in fiscal year 20 was $82, 21, and so forth. You see that as it moves across the table, and the relative change each year in that monthly bill is the next figure, $6.72, $4.44, and so forth. Okay, that represents about, on average, that represents about a 6% increase per year over the 10 years, and just kind of tying that back to some information from the state. They see on, I think there's 300 utilities in the state, and that number on average is around 5%. So you're just a little above what the state average is in terms of LGC saying, what does the big picture look like? Where are utilities going? What is about the average in terms of effect on rates, rate increases on a year-to-year basis is around 5%. It's kind of what they're gauging the climate of the industry by. Okay, so then you have the graphic, and that's just basically turning those numbers into a chart. The columns are the collective expenses. Okay, the dashed line is your existing rates. So as you can see, the rates cover everything pretty much at the beginning, and continuing on, and again, these are the rates from fiscal year 20. So, to stay with, you got to keep the line above the columns to have enough money to make it run. So that's what we're doing as we move out over the 10 years. Dashed line is if you didn't do anything with your rates, and the solid line is the result of those incremental increases in revenues through rate increases over the years. Okay?
Dale, you said that the average was 6% for North Carolina. Do you know what the average is for mountain communities and/or like western North Carolina?
I don't. There is a rates dashboard that University of North Carolina School of Government has, and there's pretty easy comparisons that you can make from that. So that was not part of what I was hired to do, but it's very available to make some of those comparisons.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
On year 21, I know we went from zero cash finance CIP to 259,000, and then that 10% increase in rates.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering how is that the Public Works building, or is that just Public Works projects, or?
This is the water sewer utility, so
Okay.
you do have help me here a minute, Daniel, you've got a sewer improvement project and a water improvement project, both are SRF, and there's a certain amount of let's see, the water services replacement is in that number.
Okay,
The building is not.
okay, perfect, thank you.
So that's where some of those numbers are coming from. Okay. Then all the way at the bottom, where it says water sewer utility capital investments. So with this picture here, this set of data, you can say, this is what I'm buying. Okay, over the next 10 years, I'm buying $14 and almost $15 million worth of capital improvements. I've broken those out into the water wastewater projects, the plant projects, versus the distribution collection, the pipes part of it. And then, the other support type things, vehicles and equipment, those are totaled up there in that first box, total CIP over the 10 years. And then it's broken out year by year in terms of, what are the capital investments you're making in this scenario. Okay?
It's broken up by 10 years.
Yes.
So, like in 2021, the capital investment is only $4 grand.
4 million, yes. In 22, it's 2 million.
I mean, yeah, 4 million, sorry,
Right. And then it's
2 million.
Yep. Yep. Then if you go to your second page, Mr. Mayor, that you're on, that's just the detail behind that bottom box. It says, what are we buying? Okay, so your question, Kelly, was, what's in that number? Well, you go to the next page and you can see exactly what those things are. Okay, so those are things that we're buying over the next 10 years to make things run, and
Without the intake.
Pardon me?
Without
the intake. Without the intake. Okay. So now, if you keep on paging through, the next page, page 3, is, all right, what does this look like if the raw water intake is in there? Okay. And again, we have to make some assumptions. The assumption is that it gets built in 25, and the assumption is that it goes online in 27, and this is what happens. Okay, same approach, same way the tables are put together. Okay, and you'll notice, big difference all the way at the bottom is it's $34 million rather than 14, $20 million difference. It's basically the Watauga River intake. Okay, so we ramp it up a little bit sooner rather than later to kind of make it a smooth curve, even though it does go up a little more dramatically. And same things the way you read the chart. If you look at the outcomes and effects on the minimum bill, you'll see there that it's if you do the math, it's about a 10%, average is about a 10% increase per year over the 10 years rather than 6. So if you add up all the increase in the first scenario, it's about 60%. Okay, divided by the 10 years, gives you about 6. And then if you do the math for this scenario, you get about 10% a year. Okay. Then you flip the page and it's the capital investment that supports that. And again, this will be identical to the previous, and the big difference is that, we have in year 5, 2025, $20 million in that top section for that October Report. Okay?
Now, is the $20 increase over the 149 compared to the 120 in 10 years, is that a conservative estimate? We're not taking cost of materials and stuff like that in the next 10 years?
Well, and again, the major difference is intake versus non-intake. Okay, so,
Let's talk into it.
yeah, so the assumptions, the rules for the water intake is it's $20 million construction cost, and it's, the operating expense was calculated by West Engineers, and it wouldn't go online until 2027. So that's where that number comes into the financial forecast is, here's the capital cost, and you start paying debt service on it here. And then the other component is, well, we turn it on and run it, it's gonna cost, how much is that? And we figure a couple years of construction, so in 2027 is where that operating cost comes into play. Okay, now, this doesn't include any bridge loans or anything like that. If it goes to a USDA loan, there is a requirement that you have a bridge loan, so you can, pay somebody to do the construction before the loan money is put in your bank. So that cost is not in here. But what we've done is we've started the debt service payment that is commensurate with the cost of construction on that first day. So we're not going to be too far off of what that gap would be. There might be a little bit more when you do the little short term in between, but in the grand scheme of things, I think it's better to just say, on this day, we're going to start paying the debt service on it, even though, the loan doesn't start for 2 more years, but you do have to have something in between to keep somebody building, and it's reasonable to assume that that's going to be somewhere near that same cost.
So the debt service it begins in 25.
Yes, on the intake, yes. Yes. Now, one more thing that I'll add is that in our debt burden calculation, and I know this weighs heavy on decision makers like yourselves, is, are we borrowing too much money? When is it too much, right? I mean, if you're in your personal life, how much credit card debt can I manage, and when is it too much? So you got to have some way to kind of say, when is it too much? When is the burden too big? So what I've done is that the American Water Works Association, they have a research foundation, and they did a study in 2012 of effectively run utilities across the nation. And one of the benchmarks that they used was capital funding from equity sources. Okay, equity sources just means cash. Okay, so what's the percentage, the minimum amount of cash financed capital improvements that is indicative of an effectively run utility? Okay, and that number is about 20%. Okay, so if you have less than 20% of your capital needs funded by cash, then you're not in that group of effectively run by that benchmark definition. So that's the definition that I use to say, does this make sense? Okay, and that's over, I think, 20-some utilities across the nation. So that number is 20%. What yours calculates out to be is about 17%. Now, not to panic, because the 17%, if you're in a good cash position, okay, if you go back to one of the tables, Okay, on that one, well, actually, I didn't include that. The other part that I usually include in this table is my financial indicator, which is the unrestricted net assets, commonly known as fund balance, and what percentage of that fund balance is related to your total expenses. Okay, and yours is somewhere around 50%, or maybe it's more than that. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but it's in that neighborhood, and we maintain that through the 10 years. Okay, so in other words, if you're in a good cash position, if you're in a good financial position, you can dip down below that 20% and still be fine. Okay, other utilities have other numbers they use on that. I've seen those as low as 10% and as high as 40%.
So is there a correlation between that 17% and the debt load to income ratio? Is there any correlation between those two?
Well, what that number is that relationship between the amount of capital improvements that you fund with cash versus funding by debt. That's what that 17% is. 17% is by cash, the rest is by debt.
Okay,
Okay, so
so that would be correct.
Dale or Bob, whoever could answer this, as the next 10 years with the intake, with the minimum residential water billing going up every year.
right,
Is
that's
that, so
okay.
year 2025 is $125. Is that going to include the capital improvement money we're billing customers right now on top of?
Well, this is everything included. Everything that your utility has to pay for is included in those revenue requirements. So it covers all your O&M, all your capital, it covers your debt service ratio, it covers your
No,
reserves and
we
everything.
charge our customers $5 a month for
Oh,
a capital project. So
the
my
surcharge.
question is,
Surcharge.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, the model doesn't make a distinction between either one.
Okay.
The revenue is revenue, whether you get it by a surcharge or you get it by a
So what are we
volume
truly
charge.
charging our customers then?
Pardon me?
What are we truly charging our customers?
That's what's on the chart.
Okay.
That's what's on the chart. Yeah, I thought a little bit about putting that in there,
Mhm.
and then I thought, well, let's not
So
mix
this
apples
does
and
include
oranges.
the capital
Yeah,
project. so-
exactly. What is on there
And
is.
what was that number you used 10 years down the road? Still $5 a month?
Well, I didn't use a surcharge per se in the calculation. My job was to say, how much revenue total do you need to run this? Whether you collect it on a base charge or a volume charge in your rate, or those two plus a surcharge,
Okay.
or you just have a flat rate and say, use all the gallons you want, and it's this much money, regardless of how you collect that, the
Okay,
revenue
I
that you
follow.
need is that.
Yes, sir.
And then based on your fee structure today, then, your total charges for the customer is that entry going across.
So 149 includes whatever surcharge.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Whether you collect it by a surcharge, whether you collect it by a
Okay.
flat rate or by a volume charge,
Yes, sir.
all of it together
Okay.
is in that number, yes.
So we ever address the issue about commercial water rates?
No, sir. No, that needs to be done in this process as we move forward.
Yeah, I think it's something
When we look at the rate structure, and this is part of that process, as I said, we're late. We had it ready, we just couldn't get everybody together in the same room. This is the next phase of that discussion we had in February, where we started moving ahead with the Watauga River. You increase the surcharge to $5 from $3. We began spending that money in design, planning, public outreach. This is the next phase to now identify what is the cost, what is the requirement, what do we have to fund. We believe, the town believes, that these are very good numbers. We believe that we've spent a lot of time providing numbers and talking with Dale back and forth. So now that we have a good picture on what the bucket of money needs to be, now we need to start talking about rates, rate structure, commercial versus residential. and how do we raise those funds, in what manner? And then we need to talk about financing, and all that is coming in the next 2 phases. So this is the process
Yes, sir.
that we began back in February when you decided to do the intake.
So if we have an increase in our population, just looking at year 30 at the $149, or any year, these numbers could go up or go down, correct?
Well, yes, but there is, the model has growth, planned growth. Now, if it exceeds that planned growth or is less, the model changes, but the model anticipates growth over 10 years.
Right. And we can run any number of scenarios. If you believe that, the 1.25% that's in the model is too low, well, I can put another number in there and we can say, all right, if we do get growth in the system, more customers spread the cost out over a little bit, then we can see, directly what that effect would be on that minimum bill. So that's kind of the beauty of building the model, is that now we can run different scenarios and see what that does to us. If the interest rate changes, then, what does that do? And how much of a change does that make?
Anybody got any other questions?
We've got one more slide.
Okay. All right, so the last slide, very last one is, okay, what's the difference? So that's just simply, here's the minimum bill in today's world, which is the yellow, or the blue column, and the red column is, or the gray column is the one that is with that intake. Then that year-over-year change in bill, monthly bill, is what's displayed above the columns. And then the little red columns are just the amount, because that's how Excel likes to show it to us.
Okay, I think, anybody, questions? Charlie?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We're good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, budget priorities, town manager?
Mayor, I've received a request from council to give you roughly a 90-day report on the budget priorities that you set back in February. If you recall, you came up with 5 priorities for budgeting, and we went through the budget process. The council assigned council members to champion these projects or goals, and then the council subsequently funded the dollars to make that happen. So what I've done is put together a little PowerPoint to give you a report, a first 90-day report, and I've asked department directors to come and tell you a little bit about it, and hopefully generate some questions that you may have. So number 1, it was infrastructure, and Vice Mayor Cardy and Councilwoman Gunye were the champions on that. Number 2 was roadways. That was Councilmember Abernathy and Councilwoman Malang were champions. Number 3 was website and social media improvements. Again, Councilwoman Malang and Councilwoman Gagne were champions. Cost savings was Vice Mayor Cardy, and gravel roadways was Mayor Kaufman. So the first one, I'm going to ask Daniel Davis to come up from Public Works, and he's going to talk about priorities 1, 2, and 5. His department was responsible for those over the last 90 days. And Daniel, I'll go through the slides if you want to talk.
All right. Mayor and Council, I want to thank you guys. Got a nice presentation here to reflect the work that you have made possible for us to accomplish. Council champions, Mayor Barry Kaufman, Vice Mayor Jimmy Accardi, Councilman Abernathy, you have made these projects possible. And I would go as far as to say as well, we've seen all of y'all at these sites as we've done the specific jobs. So you'll find some of these photos that you've seen before. But we continue to search for the supplemental water source, the alternative to the Watauga River, if it can be found. We continue to make that priority, and as far as that goes, today the drill rig was running. This is the first day of drilling of the first supplemental well as a test well. It is in process today, so we hope to have data, and we hope to have positive data very soon. But that has come to fruition. We have slated 2 wells to be tested currently, and then we'll look at that data and move forward. We hope to have that data in November. The Watauga Intake Project, of course, regardless of what we're finding, we're moving on all fronts. We don't want to forget, as the picture shows us, that we do have water concerns that have to be addressed, and we have to continue to move forward and push on the Watauga Intake Project, and you all well know that you've been working hard on advancing that project. So we want to keep that need first and foremost. The slide to the left is just a little jest. Anybody that's from the Charter Hills area will be very familiar with that intersection and the road closed to through traffic. Understand, of course, as you all know well and as you requested and directed, progress is being made. The SRF project is on schedule. It is moving through the community at some inconvenience to many, but the overarching goals are being reached. You know, we're looking at nearly 8 miles of water and sewer that's being replaced. So it's a large project that's coming along nicely. You also know that we have a target goal of 150 services to be replaced this year. I wanted to show you what we're finding and what we're installing. And also to report that this time this year, now I'll admit we jumped the gun, we moved a little early with parts that we had in stock. But of our goal of 150 in the fiscal year, we're already at 98. So we are very pleased to inform you that we're moving well forward on that project and intend to reach that goal or surpass it. Just more project photos. You guys may have seen some of these things and to keep in mind that these are no small projects. Anytime we break the road, anytime we break the earth, there's large equipment, there's a lot of excavation going on. As you can see in the picture on the right, you know, production requires equipment, it requires a lot of manpower in order to get these goals achieved, and you've all provided that to us. You know, the little Bobcat here in the corner is the one that you purchased this year, and hard at work on this road, that's Golfview Road, and we'll see some other photos of that in a moment. Fire hydrants was one of your main directives, 26. Is that not, that's an excellent number. That's a great number. That does take into account part of the SRF project as well as many that have been repaired or refurbished by the town themselves. Pavement, and more pavement. Nearly 10 miles of pavement. We've paved a lot. You asked for reconstructed surfaces, you asked for a better job, and we hope that we're providing that to you. Again, bear in mind, we're talking about in the first 90 days, and we have accomplished a lot. This is a photo of the uphill view of Golfview Drive. It's difficult to see because of the shadowing, but you see the grate that is along the bottom. That was one of those problem areas that has been 10 years plus that we have annually invested time and maintenance in as opposed to making a long-term repair. Now we have a long-term repair. Public Works and Sanitation, structures underway. This particular photo was taken on October 2nd. You have all been by, you've seen that. It continues to progress, continues to look bright for our continued efficiency in operations. Grassy Gap Loop Road, the 200 block, somebody might be familiar with that one. Another beautiful picture. Paved, but not only paved, striped, brightly, visibly, and all services underneath that road were replaced. 12,000 feet of high-vis reflective lines have been placed on our roadways, and I hope that you're seeing that it's much easier to drive around in the fog like we had this morning, and especially at night. We continue to make effort on that part, and I do want to say as well, the 12,000 feet does not include what was contractually obligated to Moretz Paving as they did their paving work. So those pavings were additional footage of striped lines. Road stabilization, we began that early on. We've had a lot of comments on that. Great move to allow us to get the parkway beautification back to the place that it should be. The shoulders rebuilt, the grass regrown, everything shaped and back into that place that you guys wanted to see it. You made that happen, we made that happen, and it looks great. Mile High Landscaping, their contract work has been excellent, and not only does it look great, it has allowed us to do other large projects that we'll begin to look at now. Other long-term drainage issues. Jimmy, you'll recognize possibly the one on the left as the culvert repair and drainage repairs there at Mile High Tavern. That was part of that ditch line and reconstruction, and a culvert that we actually found that was in place that had disappeared over the years. Those are issues that, again, we're no longer passing the buck. We're finding the problem, resolving it as you requested. The right-hand side is on an intersection at Wintergreen Road and Upper Snowbird Trail. Another one of those issues that annually we were taking damage constantly and just continuously putting expense and effort into, which you have now allowed us to make permanent repair on. That was a large intersection, a lot of pipe work, took some time, but we do believe, and it has shown thus far through the storms we have, to be a resolved situation. Bear in mind, of course, as always, you've seen us out working, you've experienced our inconveniences. The work that you've asked for is large excavations. This is serious pipe work. You can see from these photos the size of a backhoe compared to the size of these holes, the size of these water lines compared to a shovel. These are large pieces of equipment, large amounts of dirt that has to be excavated in not the best conditions, as we have, of course, our manager, Mr. Pudney, out here oversight, make sure we're all safe and healthy. Others have provided.
Don't say anything about that large belly.
He asked me to catch him from a different angle the next time we grab the picture like that.
Moving on.
Large excavations. All right, this was a sewer main extension. This was to service a block of customers that previously did not have service available to them for sewer, for obvious purposes. It wasn't able to run downhill. One of the things that we've done is addressed those head on, as you have asked for. You know, we're coming up with solutions to our residents' problems that last in the long term, and we're not doing just quick patches. Again, large excavations. This is up the center of Wintergreen Road, and you can see that the banks cross completely roadside to roadside. So folks often ask, you know, when the road's closed, you know, can I go ahead and get down through there? I wouldn't advise it. You know, you're probably not going to make it down that one. As so many people are aware of, the recent repair of drainage at the entrance to the slopes at Poppy's Coffee Shop. Large, deep excavation, a lot of manpower, a lot of hours, not small things. And I do want you to notice that in the ditch there, you see the peach colored line coming across? That's one of the fiber optics. That's the simple one that's on this side. There are 3 underneath the track hoe right there. You know, bear in mind that as we do this work, one of the reasons it takes such time, we don't get to just set up a machine and go to digging. There's a lot of things in that ground, water lines, phone lines, charter, all manner of things that we have to work around, which extends our dig times. So, but with that said, again, if you've been by there, you've seen the finished product. All we need now is a little grass to pop up and we will be looking nice again. And yet another long-term problem, twice it flooded this year, solved.
If I could just add here, I like this picture because I saw this happening and about lost my lunch, because that's a very expensive piece of equipment straddling the ditch. And so I talked to the operator. The operator is extremely skilled. This time of year, he used to be running a weed eater. Wow. So when we came to you and said, let us contract out the grass so that the operators can operate equipment, this is what he was doing, and what a great job.
Is that you, Chief?
That's not me.
Yeah, put on a few pounds.
As we're all well aware, you asked for some reforms in sanitation. They have taken place. Remember that all that we're doing is to improve your service. It's to improve the town and its residents and its owners. We're not here to cater to the bears.
They're very unhappy.
That's all that I have to say.
Questions for Daniel?
Thank you, Daniel.
You do a great job.
I do have a question.
Got a question
Yeah,
here,
I've got
Daniel?
one question, and
Oh, sorry.
can we go back to the slide with the major project by Poppies? Okay. You had mentioned that Peach line is fiber optic.
Yes.
Okay, my question would be, Daniel, with all of the infrastructure work that we have all seen done this summer, and it's been massive. It's been massive. When you start to dig, do you know it's all there, or do you come up on surprises?
Before you dig, dial 811. And that's for any person in this room, including us, if you're going to put a fence post in the ground. Now, with that said, 811 does give you a range of possibilities. It could be here, it could be here, and it's a footage range that normally equates to about 3 feet. We have an idea that it is there. As you all well know, we often find those lines that we weren't exactly planning to be right there with the end of that large machine. And that normally doesn't work out very well. Sometimes if it's a water line, that's why we're having a discontinuation service.
Yeah.
If it's fiber optics, of course, sometimes the folks down the street lose their internet. It's one of the hazards of the job. We do the best we can. We hire skilled operators, and we go slowly. Getting in a hurry gets you nothing but trouble. And let me tell you this too, a broken fiber optic line is not an inexpensive thing.
Is that a $30,000 line?
Those are the 2-inch $30,000 lines. Those are the big ones. They range in sizes from a pencil to, a Rolo package all the way up to several inches. And of course, in the parkway, we've got a lot of data going through there. So there's 3 of those on the far side as well.
Wow. Thank you, Ken. That's all I have.
Again, thank you all for supporting us in this
Thank you.
effort.
Excellent job.
All right, I'm going to ask Steve Smith to come up. Number 4 was cost savings opportunities. This was Vice Mayor McCarty's champion, and Steve's going to walk us through some of the things we've done to save some money.
So, Vice Mayor Carty was our champion on this, and you asked us to, be diligent and find ways to reduce costs and raise fees. And so, again, the recycling center, as Daniel mentioned, was one of those places we started. This is a temporary out-of-town pass for those that don't live in town limits. We found that a lot of them were bringing their trash right to us. So, measuring increased in cost efficiencies of our operations. These are just 3 things that we can start with. You can add diligence to that list of accountability, being transparent, being honest about things. That's just a good place to start to be cost efficient in your operations. This is a fuel pump, the new fuel pump. This goes back a little bit before most of you, but there are some council members that were very concerned about what was going on with our fuel system. This has accuracy, it's accountable, it's a secure system, and we think it's operating excellent right now. So accountability here is what we just believe we're saving money. We bought this diagnostic automobile scanner. It's been already has saved us a great deal of money. This allows us to, in the shop, to determine problems with vehicles without sending them to the dealership to do that. Those dealerships for some of our larger trucks can be 50 miles away. And that's one driver taking that truck to find out what the problem is. Matthew told me that this system has saved us at least $14,000 this year, so it's been a great purchase. ADJOURNMENT Solutions, this is a software management system that we've put in place recently. Mostly, it's town-wide, but mostly Public Works has found great use for this. Work orders, again, the vehicle shop is heavily involved in ADJOURNMENT Solutions, using this for maintenance, PM maintenance, gives you history on your maintenance. It's it's making our workforce more efficient with the work order system. Again, Daniel's using most of this. He might have something to add on the ADJOURNMENT Solutions.
Does all this fall into the PMs with all the machinery that Beach Mountain has?
It does. That's where the vehicle, now the vehicle maintenance is managed through the DO. It's tracked as far as parts used, hours of labor, mileage, all of those things go into the main project so that David Clausen, our shop manager, can interpret ahead of time where we should be.
Can you use, does this apply to the excavating equipment also?
It does.
So all moving equipment?
If it works through the shop, it's all this. It includes chainsaws, it includes generators. It's our tracking system. And not only does it track those type of things, we get phone calls each day about whatever that problem is. It also allows us to track the criticality of those things. And so daily, for efficiency measures, I know if I need to send my effort out to the main that is broken on this side that I wasn't aware of the call of myself, or the pothole that was reported, although it's not forgotten, it goes into the system and is categorized so that we can address it as efficiently as possible.
And that's giving GIS information, location information about where Daniel's problems are, and it really makes an efficient useful tool for them.
And council, every month we give you a summary of the dude reports. Not that you can go through each one and see what it's about, but just to give you an idea of what work orders we process. And Daniel's correct and Steve's correct. We're doing our work more efficiently because we can prioritize. Things don't fall through the cracks as often. They still do, but not as often. And it allows us to prioritize where the workforce goes at any particular time based on priority.
What was the model placed before that? Just pen and paper or notebook?
Sticky notes.
Yeah.
Sticky notes.
Thank you.
I like the dude.
ADJOURNMENT has a lot of capability. I think we'll just see that being used more and more for all kind of applications. So we got a little greenhouse. Susie asked us to look into this and get a little greenhouse. Hopefully, she spends a lot of money on flowers, new plantings, that type of thing. She hopes to use this greenhouse not only to save plants over the winter, but to start new plants in the spring and have them ready to go. Hopefully reducing our planting costs significantly, and we'll see next spring how that goes. This is a website that we've put in place for automatic payments. We did this for a couple reasons. One was to streamline our customer service. So, you can register your accounts on this website. You can find out your balances, when your last payment was, how much your consumption was during a period. We're seeing, we've only put out one flyer on this, and we've got quite a pretty good response. About 250 people have signed up so far. It also streamlines any payment that's made through this website. The payments are streamlined. They automatically show up as paid on Rebecca's system. So it's really just a couple clicks of her mouse, and she has this all posted to your account. There's no manual data inputting. Errors are reduced, and our customer service is streamlined. We ask you to add quite a bit of seasonal part-time crews and contract crews in order so that our skilled operators could go do those things that Daniel talked about earlier. It's worked out really well, and they've got a lot of things done. So we believe that saved us quite a bit of money. We didn't have to go out and, bid out contracts for the different projects Daniel's completed this summer.
Question about that attachment. Can you trim branches that are hanging over the Beach Mountain Parkway or roads with that attachment?
To a degree and to certain limits. It all depends on what you're actually trimming it diameter-wise, and also depends on the height. It's going to throw a long ways, so safety is the chief concern there. It works well on things like laurel bushes and scrub brush along the sides. When you're actually talking about trees, it's not nearly as effective, and it makes for an ugly product. After it's finished, it cuts less and breaks more in splinters.
Yeah, you don't like the look. The state does that on the parkway coming up, and it just, it's not a cut, it's a rip.
It's use it.
To that end, we plan, we're transitioning from this work, our summer work, we're gonna do our right-of-way work, which is trimming the bushes, and we're not going to use the machine to do that. We'll be using a combination, hopefully, of contract labor and our crews to start doing right-of-way trimming. So although this machine will technically do it, you won't like the result. So what we're transitioning now into some right-of-way work where we'll be doing it with the proper equipment.
On another positive, have we not, from our summer help, maintained some of them, Daniel, and now they're full-time?
Oh, we have. We developed several employees that fell right into snap with the town. Good workers, and guys that wanted to be a part of the town. That's one of the things that we're most pleased is they want to be here. They enjoy the work.
So part of saving money and being cost efficient is being ready to seize on opportunities when they come along. And so there's a lot of COVID money out there. One way or the other, we will receive all that COVID money. But we believe that buying pieces of equipment that can help us in the day-to-day operations is a better strategy than other strategies in receiving that COVID money. So this is an example of, I don't know if you call it a fogger. Is it a fogger, Sean? But it's for disinfecting. This room was disinfected yesterday using this piece of equipment, and it will be paid through the CARES Act. There's other measures that we've taken along the way this past 8 or 10 months, but being more transparent in our budget presentation, we did some cost shifting from the utility fund to the general fund just to save money there. You also asked us to look at our user fees, and we've done that, and we've done quite a bit of analysis and review on our user fees, and we're still to this day refining those user fees, and probably see, I hope you'll see a budget amendment soon that might straighten out some of those user fees in the future. So that's all.
Any questions for Steve? Cost savings?
Thank you.
Any things we've done?
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Before, I'm going to ask Sean to come up. He was responsible for number 3 on the website and social media. What we're showing you today is a budget update on your priorities. I want to make the point that everything else that the town was responsible to operate continued. The water, the sewer, the garbage, the maintenance, tax collection, police, fire, everything else continued while this was being done during a pandemic. So my hat's off to our staff. Our group of employees have stepped up. They've done more than I've asked them to do. And when you look at the amount of work that's been completed in a short period of time, I commend them for that. So Sean, he's going to do the number 3 website and social media, and he also threw in some plugs for recreation. He's got the prettiest slide.
Bob did ask me to put in a few things that we've been doing during the pandemic. So I'm going to lack in a few slides, like Daniel. I will make up in ribbon cuttings. So we've been busy. So even throughout some of the things I just kind of want to mention during the pandemic, we continued doing our events, but we had to obviously alter our events, come up with some new ideas. So we came up with this giant slip and slide this year. That was a lot of fun. On the sled, Barry came out and saw it. I think you stopped by, and I don't know if you made a trip down or not. We had a few movie nights. Also, we had Rick Oven there for that. We've been doing virtual trivia nights. I think we've done 10 of them now. This weekend, we'll have our fall festival. So this is similar to our hayride that we do every year, but we're changing it up just a little bit. The one year that we moved it back a few weekends, and now all of our leaves are about to blow off. So, and then also we're changing our Halloween event and also doing a haunted trail versus our haunted house that we have done in the past. So Kelly, we'll see you for that one. So project. If you guys remember, we still have, one of the things we've seen during this entire thing, more and more use on our trails.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, a lot of our projects have been faced outdoors rather than indoors. We have replaced all of our trailhead kiosks, and I'm really pleased at how they came out. We have permanent maps in them, everything's GPS off correctly. New staircases have been built on trails. We have new trails continually to be built on Emerald Outback. Again, that's a system that we're seeing more and more use, so that's really nice to see. And then our recreational trail project grant, we have completed that trail now. There's a nice walking path all the way around Buckeye Lake and meets back into the Falls Trail. So that was 99% done. There's just some pictures of the kiosk. So these are all around the mountain, and also the staircase on Upper Pond Creek. Here's a couple of little just pictures of Buckeye Lake Loop. If you haven't gotten a chance to hike it, I highly encourage you to do so. It's just really, really, really nice. Here are a few. You guys have helped fund some big projects for us. This one, I can promise you, have made Fred Foles' day. He has been asking for this forever. So with direction from Bob Bunny and you all, we got a bathroom at Lake Coffee, which has been great. Also, we dedicated Shane Park. So I know Bob's happy that one's off to death. But as the park progresses, we still have a few campsites to put in. You can see a model of one of the campsites that we have up and running, and then the grass is actually coming in very nice. So it's looking great down there. So as for my portion, I was working with Councilman Malang and Gagne on our website. So without blowing your all's emails up too much with every little thing that I asked to be changed on this. So I
can't find it.
Yeah, he's going to bring it up in just a second. But if you guys remember, one of the reasons of changing this, we want to update our website, also clean it, make it more user-friendly, and kind of bring us forward into today's modern world. So that's what they have done. When you get to the link, it's going to be just the home page right now. There's still several things to happen with the website, but as of right now. So what we did, there was a small committee made. We met several times, kind of talked about what we were wanting to achieve with the new website. And then after that, we started looking at samples of other sites that we like, kind of pulling some ideas from them. And then that's what you're going to see in...
I can't get the mouse to, wait a minute. We'll try this. What's on my screen is not what's up there.
You want to talk a little bit about the design company?
Sure. So, yes, we're using a design company out of Asheville. It's called Big Boom Design. The TDA has used them. That's actually kind of how we got in touch with the company. They put together their website. So came in, we kind of obviously told them what we were wanting, and then after several meetings, yes. So this, again, as I said, this is just a homepage. There's a couple links that are added as well. So you can go ahead and do your pay online. And again, these are taken away from other websites, other municipalities that we've looked at what would really be the key ingredients. What do we need to have right in front of people's face? So during this process, I'll reach out to Gagne and Malang, and I would ask you guys, hey, what are your suggestions? So you guys have championed and have your input on this as well. And then if you want to scroll down just a little.
Easier said than done.
So again, this vision statement is right out of the comprehensive plan that was just adopted not long ago. So gives a little bit of information. Here's some quick news and events of what's happening on the mountain. This is how, people just want to find out some of the vital information. Here it is. And then at the bottom we'll have Steve's favorite part. So once again, to find ways to pay online. So again, for a municipal website, really you need to find most of this, how can I pay bills, how can I get in touch with certain departments when needed. And that's hopefully what we have achieved here is user-friendly and more attractive website.
I think this is great. This is actually the first impression of new visitors to Beach Mountain. We'll normally be either looking at a Facebook page or a website.
Right.
And this looks very easy to use and it covers everything I think we need to cover.
Great. So they're still working on it. I'm hoping we'll have a launch date by January 1. Now once we have finalized everything on the homepage, the next move will start to fill in all the forms. Preston has a lot of permits and forms that people need to find. So just tedious work like that. And then asking department heads what information they would want specifically to their portion. I think that's
Super user friendly.
Yeah.
I think we should do virtual ribbon cutting.
Sean can do that.
Yeah.
Did I miss it while I was playing with the computer? Did you tell him the launch date?
Yes.
Okay.
January 1 is what we're
I'm sorry.
looking for. Yes. A couple other, I'll go back kind of just on recreation side real quick. A few things that I did not put up there, but again, these were projects that you guys generously funded for us. We have replaced all of the cabinets in the rec center, so if you haven't seen those, definitely come by. It looks so much better. Our kids' playroom just finished last Thursday, so new playroom for the kids, and so everything else is progressing. Gutters should happen soon. But that's it for the recreation side. So thank you guys. And if you have any questions.
Questions for Sean?
When do you do the bathrooms?
I'm sorry. When are we going to do bathrooms?
When do you clean the bathrooms?
Oh, which bathrooms? Now we have so many of them. Yeah. Bring down with the fogger and do it like that.
So that pretty much.
I do have one question.
Yes.
Do you do windows?
Have we do windows? Jared may. Call him.
All right,
Can I
thank
ask one more question? As far as the summer went, how did those fans work in the recreation center?
So since we were closed, we never had it.
Never had to turn them on.
Never had to use them.
Okay.
I know we were trying to test the waters with that, but
Right. Okay.
we have all exhaust fans now work. Beginning of the summer, we had one that was down and not working, but so now they're all working. We just didn't get a chance to use it. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Mayor and Council, before we move on to your next item, I just want to say that without the funding and the direction that you gave us beginning that last February, none of this would have occurred. We have expended a large amount of funds that were budgeted, and we thank you. So remember that next month when you get the financial report, which will reflect. This month's looks really good. Next month's financial report, just remember how great this was. And then I told you we spent a lot of money to make this happen in those 90 days. So thank you all. Appreciate it.
I've heard that comment multiple times about the money that the town has spent, but look at the return on our investment and look at where we are today. I mean, it shows, and it shows nicely. So it's money well spent.
Okay, we'll move on to old business 7-1. Planning board vacancy. Ms.
Um,
Mulaney, you have a
yes.
suggestion?
We went ahead and opened for applications. No new applications were submitted, so I would like to nominate Leslie Johnson to replace the vacancy on the planning board.
I'll make a motion to nominate her.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. So we have a new person on the planning board, which will fill up all the spots. And then they will pick their own chair.
We will notify her tomorrow, okay, and get her sworn in.
Very
Maybe
good.
not tomorrow, but we'll get her notified.
Town manager, your report.
All right, Mayor and Council, I've got, as you might expect, a lot to report. I've sent you the staff reports. I'm going to touch on a few of those. So afterwards, if you've got some specific questions that I don't cover, please do that. On the COVID-19 update, the state is in a phase 3 with restrictions. Basically, it makes no changes to our public meetings. We're not able to meet the capacity and social distancing here, so we're going to continue to use the live stream and the Zoom until something changes, unfortunately. Watauga has had a spike in cases, mostly associated with the App State. We're involved in a twice a week conference call and pretty much up to speed. I report on behalf of Beach Mountain when that's required. The town is doing okay. We do have some positive cases in and around, but they're being managed well, and I don't have any concern at this point with that. You did see the disinfectant fogger machine that we purchased through the CARES Act, through the COVID funding. That's an interesting machine. We actually, because we opened Buckeye and we got the public in there, that's the reason we purchased that machine. We can fog the entire building with disinfectant anytime we want, and we do it on a regular basis. And then Parks and Rec staff comes in and fogs twice a week, all town buildings, Public Works, Police Department. We did this room yesterday. And so we're applying those CARES funds to actual use of trying to keep our workplace and our public buildings disinfected.
Is it a chemical that is used?
It's a chemical.
How does it function?
It smells like bleach.
Oh, does it?
Do you know what it is?
I do have actually Jeff Fish did a really good job. He researched it and I have the entire breakdown. It is a very safe chemical. That's what he ultimately found out. Think of it as our snow blower. That's basically the best way to just kind of give you an example of how this thing works. It's the exact same system. It's little tiny nozzles at the end. You just turn on compressor fans. And then, as I said before to our police chief, I can dissipate you from here. This thing shoots far away.
It's good thing I'm not contagious.
Yeah.
It smells very clean when they're done. I don't know what the chemical is.
I mean, we did everything very fast and it soaks it down quick.
Is it a little capsule you put in it, or you fill the tank? How does
We
it?
fill the tank up, yep.
And it's good for how many rooms?
To be honest with you, I haven't really tested how far it goes. I know I put a gallon in a few weeks ago and we still got plenty left. And we ordered, I think I ordered 50 or more gallons. So I've got a ton of it. So
And Sean,
it'll last.
this is something you don't have to wipe down after it actually fogs, correct?
Correct. You do not need to wipe down.
Right.
And I've told our guys, try to watch out for paper. It is safe to be on computers, but I wouldn't put it directly to a computer. But yeah, it can sit and just dry off.
Sounds like what they're using in schools nightly,
Right.
and buses and things like
It
that.
is. It's quick. It encompasses the entire space. And like when we were disinfecting, well, Buckeye's a good example, but Public Works. We go over there and disinfect Public Works. That's not an easy place to wipe down by hand.
Exactly.
But this fogging machine does a total disinfectant rather quickly. So, and we purchased that with CARES funds, and 100% reimbursed.
Do you have to wear a hazmat suit when you spray it?
You don't. Sean McNay is the gentleman who comes here from Parks and Rec, and I asked him how he was doing. He says, I feel the cleanest I've ever felt.
How long does it take to dry?
You can tell when he was here, but it's like in a minute or two, it's dry.
Good. Okay, great.
We also purchased another message board, electronic message board through the CARES Act, and we're actually using it to message the public. So that's been a good purchase. PPE supplies for the first responders, for public works, for the police department, we purchased that. We've had some technology that we've purchased through the CARES Act and security, access security. You know about the magnets on the doors, and we secured some buildings and things like that. So the CARES Act funding, the town has been fairly progressive in using those dollars, and predominantly Steve Smith has put that together for us each and every time. On the same CARES Act, I just want to let you know what I'm proposing to do. The town has a policy for employees that holiday time that's earned, and that's time where an employee, like a police officer or a public works sanitation person or a water plant operator, works on a holiday. The policy is that we give them those hours to take off at another time. The policy further states that on November 1st of each year, if you haven't used your holiday time, you lose it. And that's been a long-standing policy in the town for as long as I've been here. In this particular year, I canceled all leave for 90 days during the summer for COVID, and I didn't permit any employees to take any leave, vacation. They were able to take sick leave, but not holiday leave. So now we're coming up on November 1st, and I've got 35 employees that are going to lose time. So what I've done, I'm going to notice them tomorrow. I wanted to mention it to you today, is I'm going to make an adjustment to the policy for this year only, discuss it with Steve and Tamara. I'm going to extend that deadline from November 1st to March 1st, the same 90 days that I restricted them from taking leave. And so at the end of March 1st, if they haven't used their leave, they'll lose it. But I didn't think it was fair that I told them I stopped leave because of the declaration, emergency declaration, and now I'm going to take their holiday time away. So I want to make sure council and everyone was aware of that, and we'll make that announcement tomorrow. Okay, projects Shane Park, the dedication I think went well. Sean's correct. I'm glad that is moving behind us, construction, and we've got it open. We're setting forth some policies and procedures for the operation of the park. We've put up a bar gate at the entrance, and the park is going to be locked just like every other park from dusk to dawn, unless there's a camper. And we'll know when campers register at at Parks and Rec, and the police department is charged with not only patrolling that area, but they're going to open and close the parks. They lock coffee at dark, and they're also going to Shane Park, locking the bathrooms and closing the gates unless there's a registered camper or campers there. So I wanted to let you know that we're doing that. Public Works facility, it's moving along now with better weather and materials. Things are progressing quickly. And more importantly, we're working on a new convenience center process and procedure. We're going to obviously transition from the existing center to the new center with the compactors and the recycling building in a different spot. And we're not waiting for it to be built and waiting to open it and see how it works. We're actually sitting down and putting some plans together so that, one, we don't fill our compactors at the same rate, so that we wind up with them all full at the same time and then have to haul to Boone while we can't take any more trash, things like that. So that is coming together. Our paving and striping, as Daniel told you, we're done for the year. We'll start again in the spring. We've got some paving to do in the spring after he does some more water service lines, and then we'll do some striping, but the striping has been completed. Our water and sewer project, Daniel showed you some pictures on that. We're right on schedule. Things are going well. We plan to work up until about Thanksgiving. Ryan Costin at the resort was good enough to allow us to use parking lot number 4 for a staging area for all that equipment. the part of the agreement was on November 1st, we would demobilize from that parking lot, turn it back over to him for his winter operations. So our contractor, Iron Mountain, is in the process of accomplishing that. They will move out of the parking lot by the 1st of November. And then they're going to continue for about 2 weeks doing some water service, some buttoning up. And then they'll probably be off the mountain during the winter time and be back in the spring. And that had been contemplated in the contract, and everything's on schedule there. We did have an issue because we've been putting in a lot of water mains. Now we just came up to the point where we make some major cutovers, where we take the new big water main and connect it into one of the big existing water mains. And that required shutting off the existing large water main, which turned off a large area of the town. The first one didn't go well. We ran into some problems that were not anticipated. Actually, what happened was the connection went well, and we turned on all the fire hydrants and checked the water and everything was good. We went home, and then people started calling that evening and said they're out of water. We thought there was a break. We didn't find a break. What we found was a valve had failed, and we had limited water that they had just used up. So we had to get that corrected, but it was inconvenient to a lot of our residents in that area. And they were quite displeased with the fact that their outage was lengthy, and most of their issue was they didn't have notification. So on the next cutover, which was even quicker, went well. Everything was planned, the hole was exposed, the parts were in place, so we had to have the water off at a shorter period of time. We used the new message board on Charter Hills to let them know that there would be a water outage. We also put it on Facebook, put it on the website. We did as much as we could, we think, to get the word out, and it went much better. So that project should not have well, we've got one more large water shutdown to do, but now we're going to be doing individual service lines. Let's see, Thursday, we're going to give flu shots to the public here in Town Hall in the council chambers from 10 to 2. So anybody that wants a flu shot, or if you know somebody that would like a flu shot, we're going to host that through the Avery Health Department. And that's been noticed on our website, and you're all invited to come get a flu shot if you'd like to. The insurance committee is completed their survey. I'm pleased with the results. We have another meeting scheduled. As promised, we'll have you a report in November. I'll just give you a little heads up. The employees that are impacted are more than willing to pay more of their fair share if they have good insurance and they don't have the volatility of changing it every year. So I think the process of engaging those impacted employees along with us is going to not only help the taxpayer reduce our costs for dependent care, but it's also, I think it's empowered the employees that we asked and that they were made part of the solution. So I think we'll have a good report for you in November. Fire Prevention Week, as the chief, I can't forget to tell you about National Fire Protection Week, Prevention Week. It ended last Friday, and this is the first time I've got to tell you about it. I'd just like to remind everybody to just review their personal plans at home. We're entering the winter season. If you're burning wood, make sure your chimneys are clean, that type of thing. Carbon monoxide detectors. We're getting close to changing our clocks. Don't forget to change your batteries on the smoke detectors. So the last thing I've got is I want to have a discussion with you on and I met with the department directors Monday. I have seen, I think you have seen an acute shift in the demographics of the town in the last 4 to 6 months. This isn't something that has occurred slowly, it's occurred quickly. If you look at Kate's report, if you look at Preston's report, if you look at the utilities report, and if you look anecdotally at the realtors who were telling us that they sold everything that was available in the town for premium prices, and now they're selling land. And now Preston's report says we have the highest number of new construction permits that we've seen. Steve tells me that our sales tax is up, sets records back to 2006. When I talked to Daniel, 70 to 83% of our water meters are turning every month when they didn't used to. It begs the question, what's going on? And are we going to wait for something to occur, or are we going to proactively address this? And I'd like to proactively address it, and I talked to the staff about it. The town is set up to operate at about a 50% occupancy around the 12 months. We never really are fully occupied except at those Christmas, holiday, July 4th, President's Day, and then you know how the town looks. It impacts us greatly for a week or 10 days, but then we have a few weeks to recover, get all the garbage out of here, make more water, treat more water, get the sewage out, clean up the town. We're not seeing that now. And so our infrastructure in personnel and the ability to produce or take care of the service part of the town is not set up to run at 60, 70, 80% occupancy for 12 months. We're going to fall behind. And I think we need to reallocate our resources from one area to another to address this. So what I did is I asked staff to start putting together a planning group. Preston's going to head it up. And we're going to start looking at it department by department. What if we're at 70 or 80% occupancy for 12 months? What is the expectation of the new residents who are moving here? They're younger, it appears, and they have more of an expectation of service than maybe the older group, or the group that wasn't here, the second homes that people didn't come up to for some time. Lengthy explanation, but I want us all to start thinking about this, because when we meet in February on the budget, I think we'll have some answers from this planning group, and we'll need to address those going forward. Is how does the town need to adjust for this increase in service requirements based on more occupancy? Obviously, if we're at 83% of our water meters turning, this makes the Watauga River intake or the well system, or both, much more critical. That's where we're going to see it first. But even the police department, and I can tell you from the fire department, if you look at the reports, our call loads have gone up 25, 30%. And that hasn't dropped down. And I think when you put all of that together, we would be remiss if we didn't start planning for it now. Now, some people tell us that this is a flash in the pan and it'll go back, to where we were, and that, I guess, would be okay. But I think if we wait to see that, we're going to be even farther behind. So you'll hear about it. You'll know that the staff is working on it. I wanted you to know that that's what we're doing, and I would definitely appreciate any input because we're going to struggle with this as we go forward.
Are you looking for more staff? How are you figuring to redirect resources?
Well, what I want to do first, Mayor, is identify the areas where I think we need additional effort. And if we can take existing resources and reallocate those into those areas that we identify, that'd be our first choice. We have a finite number of dollars that we bring in. We have a finite number of areas to spend that money. So we need to figure out first where our needs are, what we can adjust, how we can adjust. Maybe we can change some policies, procedures, whatever. And if we need additional staff or if we need additional resources, we'll come to you in February and tell you what we've determined, what we found, what we think the issues are.
The numbers are staggering, which it's a nice problem to have. And since you discussed this, that was going to be part of my public comments. But, I see a bottleneck with issues with our public works, with our public safety, and our waste and recycling center. That, as you stated, we need to be proactive. And with the staff's input, not wait till next year or a year and a half, but I think we're going to have to make some adjustments. We may have already outgrown the public works facility. If we continue on the rate that we are now, we're going to outgrow the public works facility, we're going to outgrow the recycling center, we're going to need additional staffing with our public safety, and, not to mention with our fire department, the EMS, that people do expect a certain level of services, and if they come to Beach Mountain, I think that those services don't need to be, I'm not going to say they don't have to be comparable to whatever suburb that they're currently in, but we have an obligation to offer these normal services without compromising the service to our visitors and our residents. So I think we need to move on this pretty quick because it's going to sneak up on us, and I don't want to get behind. I think we need to move swiftly, but but not recklessly.
Well, my February timeframe is not quick
No,
enough.
that's good. No,
Okay.
I think,
I misunderstood that.
you're spot on.
I don't know that I can do it quicker and be as thorough. These are some big issues
Sure.
that need to be addressed, and I don't know what the scope of the problem is yet, and therefore I don't have the answers.
We just need to start the dialogue and get the ball rolling.
We've done that. We started yesterday, and the staff will be addressing what we perceive the bottlenecks to be and the issues to be. And then we'll present it to you in the budget retreat is what my plan had been. We could probably do it quicker, but I need to be thorough. And we don't have the data. We've got anecdotal information, that's all over the place that we're trying to pull in and collect and see what it affects us.
No, I think budget time is the right time to look at it. I just think we need to be cautious. I understand we got an explosion right now, but again, we didn't know about the virus 7 months ago either.
Correct.
So, we have to look at it, prepare something, but we have to be very cautious in how we do it.
I agree, and we saw the trend coming in the summer. The past couple of summers, we've watched, the amount of people that have come up to the mountain and spent all summer has significantly grown. I'm with Barry on this to try and see, once the U.S. opens back up and people are able to travel, we may end up with people that do what they used to do up here, buy the house and then start going elsewhere. So that's just something to keep in mind.
When you look at the recycling center and the amount of tons that is being collected this year versus last year, the numbers are fairly close. And what I find interesting with that is that even though those numbers are close, this year we've got it locked down. So, this year we've got it locked down, and look at all of the additional tons that, illegally came to us last year. It's a big number. It reinforces the amount of additional.
Are you thinking the new center won't be able to handle it?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It's just, if we want to be proactive, we've got to look at any potential bottleneck we may have. And the recycling center now is clean, it's well maintained, and we need to continue down that same path. But what I was saying is, when you look at the tons per month, they're fairly close to where they were last year. That being said, the amount of tons that's there this year is being monitored, and last year it wasn't. So, that's a significant, I don't know what that number is, but it's a significant.
We don't have that number, and that's distressing because we'd expected to see a 50% decline in tonnage when we had 50% of the people turned away that were illegally dumping at the recycling center.
Correct.
The fact that we see 126, 129 tons last month, and with all the other indicators The water meters is the best one for me. We have an increase in population that is not here just on the weekends, they're here for the month. And now it looks like they're here for 3 months. So by the time we get to February, we should be able to have you 6 to 7 months of data, and we'll see what the trend is. I want to be cautious. This isn't something we should have a knee-jerk reaction to, but I also don't want to be caught with my head in the sand. And then, this time next year, you tell me, well, how come you let this happen that, we can't get rid of the garbage, or we can't make enough treat enough water, or we can't take care of the potholes, or we can't respond to all the medical or police. All I'm saying is I see an acute shift in the town's demographics in the last 3 to 6 months. And I think we need to proactively take a look at that and come up with some data.
There's a lot of land up here that is undeveloped and acres that could be developed into some neighborhoods. And I think that where we are today, that, builders are going to be conscientious of that, and by not investing, being proactive and investing in our future, that will limit the growth of Beach Mountain.
And we've seen buildings that have been inactive for how many years that we now know are going to be reopened or redone or starting from the ground up. What's amazing to me, and I know you've all looked at everything in here that Bob has discussed, everything is almost doubled. The police calls have doubled. Everything. What Sean's doing in the rec department has been double. I'm amazed that they've been able to do the projects that they've done this summer with Daniel's crew and answer all the service calls and things that he's had to do in addition to. It's amazing the work that you all have done to keep things going with the increases that we've had. But I agree, we've got to look at what's happening, and because no one's leaving. And if they're going home, they're switching homes. This is becoming home. And you're right, the demographic is different. We're seeing families now.
But part of that is, most of the different states are closed down. People don't, Florida just opened up, and my son happens to work in Florida, and they're working from home. So I said, when are you going back into work in the office? And he said, probably not till February, because they figured now that the state is open, there's going to be a spike in cases. So what's going to happen with the people that have homes up here that live in Florida? They're going to stay up here.
Exactly. Well,
so that's what I'm saying. It's really tilted because of the situation. The question is, in 12 months, will it come back this way? So that's what I'm saying. Yes, we have to look at it, but I don't think we need to put our running shoes on and run for the gate. I think we got to be cautious.
I think our biggest change will be when school's open. Then we'll see whether they're staying or going back home.
Correct.
but if you talk to our realtors are saying that not only are we getting people from southern below us, but we're getting people from Midwest, which we haven't had quite a while. So we're getting a totally different kind of demographic coming in, so we really need to take a look at what our numbers look like. And Widener's right.
Just one question, the garbage that we pick up in the garbage trucks, that's not included, is that included in tonnage or no?
Yes. The tonnage is measured at the Watauga transfer station.
At the dump site?
We actually weigh it and get billed by it.
Okay.
Do we generate any monies or anything off the recyclables? Is there anything there that's...
Well, on your list it shows hardly anything.
Yeah.
The answer is yes, not very much.
Not much.
Right, if you look at your report.
It's more of an environmental program than it is an economical program.
I don't know what's happening at Watauga County, but I know some of the places that we take a lot of our plastics, they no longer take our plastics because it's too expensive to recycled. And we ended up taking it to the landfill, which is unfortunate.
Yeah,
There's not a huge financial market for most recyclables, but we do generate some income on the recycling. It doesn't pay for itself, but it is an environmental program that most people demand. And it's good for the environment, so if we could break even, that would be even better. Mayor, that's all I have.
That's all you got?
That's it.
All right. Non-council comments? Kelly?
I wanted to start with the happy 245th birthday to the U.S. Navy. That is today. And thank all of those that serve as well as the veterans up here on the mountain. I also wanted to let council know and do a big thank you to Land of Oz, Janet Greer, and the Lighty family. We did a Locals Night at Oz, and Rick Oven hosted it. And out of that event, we raised $709.
Okay.
We also wanted to thank Leslie Johnson. She did 2 private tours of Oz that raised $170, and all that money went to the volunteer fire department. So it was a good community events for a very good cause. I want to mention to Daniel, I love seeing every single detour sign. I don't mind taking other ways. I love seeing those detour signs. It's just positive progress on the mountain. I have had many people comment to me about the landscaping as well as how pretty Town Hall looks. So that's completely awesome. Shane Park, go see it. And on all my walks and drives around the mountain, the bear cages are working. I see more bear cages now than I see bear hits, and I just think that's fantastic. And I think that's all I have.
Do you have anything?
I said most of what I wanted to say concerning our town's capacity and our services, but as you guys know, depending on how early you get up, fog up here in the mornings is tough to drive in. And I don't know if we can do this prior to February or even consider this, but I'd like to see some of the reflectors put on Beach Mountain Parkway, maybe a couple of the main roads that we have. I mean, like this morning, which granted there were a lot of leaves on the road, but you couldn't see the stripes in a lot of the areas. But I think that especially with out-of-town folks, if it would assist them and from a safety standpoint, safety factor, even our locals, you know, that leave early in the mornings or on a foggy day, we could maybe look at what this investment may cost.
Councilman, you're referring to the center line reflectors?
Yes, sir.
That have to be recessed in the
Correct.
pavement for the snowplow?
Correct.
We've looked into this, and we're having difficulty at any cost finding a vendor that will come up here and do it. We reached out to DOT. They have their equipment, and you know that we had to pay to stripe the parkway. We're still on our list. We have had a difficult time at any cost finding a vendor to do it. But it's on the list to do the Beach Mountain Parkway, Pine Ridge, and Pinnacle.
So you're still pursuing it?
We are, but we've had, unless you've heard anything recently, we can't find a vendor that will even give us a price, let alone, negotiate.
Another option?
I don't know.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Jenny?
Another option if maybe we don't have to have lines recessed in.
Well, you have to recess them because of the snow plow.
Well, I mean, something to make it work.
We did put,
We gotta replace them.
we did put reflective beads in the striping. We double striped this time and reflective beads got put in there. But that's not the same as as a yellow reflector. But I wanted you to know that we're working on that. We almost hit a dead end.
Is that because of the contractor's workload?
No, there's not very many that do it. None of our paving contractors could do it or could give us somebody. The striping contractor, which I thought would be, would do it, they didn't. We got a vendor from DOT who never called us back after multiple calls, so we've struggled with that. We'll continue. It's not off the list, but it's not a cost issue. It's finding a vendor to come up here to do it.
Okay. And just a thank you to all the town employees and everything that you guys are doing. Appreciate it. It's paying off, and the town is really looking nice.
Thank you. I'll pass that along.
Mayor?
Thank you. Mr. Cardy?
Bob, Steve, Dan, and Sean, y'all said thank you to me for the champion. I really didn't do much. It's you guys and your staff that did it, even though it made me feel warm and fuzzy. Thank you. But y'all are the ones that are doing the grind and getting stuff done during this chaos. What Bob spoke about for February, those are good problems. So let's not be too down in the dumps about that. We'll gather the data like Bob said, but remember those are good problems to have people up here spending money, investing in our town year round. And then the water intake, I'm glad we got to finally put a number with the project, because I've heard 15 million, I've heard 20 million, I've heard all kinds of numbers. And then what the customers will actually be paying. You know, that's important because you're spending that kind of money. We have to give these people an answer of what they're going to pay a month, at least a ballpark range. So I thank you and McGill and Dale and them for putting that together. And yeah, thank all the town employees like Widener said, and thank you.
Thank you.
Aaron?
Just what I mentioned before, I'm amazed at the things that we've seen happening on the mountain this summer with our Public Works, Daniel, all of your team, Sean, your team through COVID, and the things that you're doing, being creative to make things happen, enjoyable for our families and our visitors up here, is way above and beyond. It's like you'd never know that we have COVID except we're wearing our masks, because there's been no lapse in people coming. Look at Kate's numbers. It's huge that everybody is absolutely pulling together and making things work. From the numbers with the police calls and everything that's being done. Building permits are up, the tree permits are up. It's amazing. So we do need to take a look at it. But like Jimmy said, those are good problems. And I think the things that I hear the townspeople tell me that is most refreshing is that they're noticing the change, that it's been a long time coming, and they love the transparency that they're able to see. Everything is very open, and they feel very comfortable with that. And they like that. There's a sense of empowerment and ownership that they can actually see these things. And they like it. So to everybody, Bob, yourself included, Chief, and the employees, a huge thank you for all the work you're doing, because it's about 150 to 200%.
Thank you. Well, it's a team. And the reason we presented and thanked the champions is because, you know, you're the leader of the team. And we just do what you ask us to do, and more importantly, you fund us. So without the leadership and the funding, we can't make it happen. So everything that you are thanking us for really comes back to you for having the leadership and providing the funding, the resources. Without that, we can't function.
Well, Daniel, we got our fingers crossed the well pumps up some water. It's, I don't know, you guys know where it is. It's actually right down at the end of Pinnacle, right near Chester Falls. It's in that property. You'll see the big machine pumping there. So hopefully, we'll get something out of it. I mean, with all this growth, we're gonna need water.
That's right.
Absolutely.
A lot of it.
And again, I'll just echo what everybody else said. You can thank all the employees for the great job they're doing and the hard work they're putting together. And again, everybody here appreciates it, and I'm sure all the residents do too, other than the ones that use the community center. I need a motion to go into closed session.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Right, you'll monitor Zoom for me. Guys, thank you. take off.
Okay, I need a motion to go back into session.
Make a motion?
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So be it. Thank you.
Oh, that's exciting.
Including from Raleigh down to Kinston
Uh-huh.
to somewhere in Johnson County.